11 lives cut short, 6 survivors forever changed. So many families grieving tonight and a community wondering how this could have happened to us, not once, but twice. Hello, West Michigan. I'm Andy Dominiani, and welcome to our special Your Voice, Your Future Town Hall, Kalamazoo, Hope and Healing. We're glad you're here tonight. We're going to hear from law enforcement who rushed in to save lives on 2 tragic nights and who are working now to bring those responsible to justice. We'll also be talking with the family members of the victims who are working very hard themselves to carry on the names of their loved ones. And we'll talk with faith and community leaders about coping with loss and moving forward. But we begin tonight with a look back at how we got here.
Eastbound or westbound or north?
911. We need someone here.
Okay.
Please, we need.
Are you over in High Meadows?
I'm at the Kalamazoo Cracker Barrel, and there's been gunshots in a car.
City has one in custody, 1 weapon off of them.
11 lives lost. 2 mass tragedies in the same year in the same community.
Multiple bikers down. I'm going to need probably 2 or 3 units of light.
It's all almost too much to bear.
It's unbelievable, and I think just as a community, we're reeling from the disbelief of losing 5 more people.
I just wish that we had had more of an opportunity to maybe get our feet under us before we had to do it again.
So many West Michigan families will never be the same. Lives ripped apart, others nearly snuffed out.
I don't know that there could ever be an acceptable explanation, certainly not one that makes sense.
Please don't move. Please don't move. They coming, okay? Please don't move. We got the kids.
Not 4 months after an apparently crazed Uber driver gunned down 6 people and critically wounded 2 more during a random night of terror in Kalamazoo County on February 20th, an erratic pickup truck driver plowed down a group of bicyclists out for a Tuesday evening ride. 5 of the 9 died.
I think a lot of it hasn't sunk in yet. This was just a group of people out doing what they loved, and it was just an unfortunate end to a happy evening being out. It was a cool evening, nice ride, good pace that ended in tragedy. We'll never be the same because of it.
But sometimes the worst of circumstances brings out the best in people. The Kalamazoo community has come together many times this year, holding vigils, fundraisers, and rallies to show support, hoping for healing and praying for strength.
I think they'd be honored. They'd be surprised.
It's awful. Awful tragedy.
And these 2 tragedies activated dozens of first responders from multiple police and emergency agencies across Kalamazoo County. It took coordinated responses to protect the public, rescue the injured, and prevent further loss of life. Tonight, representatives from several branches of law enforcement are joining us to talk about the impact that these cases have had on them. Please welcome Kalamazoo County Prosecuting Attorney Jeff Getting, Kalamazoo County Sheriff Richard Fuller, and Michigan State Police First Lieutenant Dale Hinz, Kalamazoo Township Police Chief Tim Burgoyes, and Kalamazoo Public Safety Deputy Chief Carrie Ann Thomas. Thank all of you for being here tonight. Sheriff Fuller, you of course were at the scene of both of these as well. The threat was neutralized in the biking tragedy almost immediately. It took a little longer in the mass shooting situation. Critical incident debriefings are critical to you. Tell me what those are and how they help.
Well, we've created a CISM team is what it's called. It's Critical Incident Stress Management. And one of the things that we do is take all the responders and give them a debriefing within 24 hours. And then we hold a second debriefing, hopefully within 48 hours. And it gives everyone an opportunity to talk about what's bothering them in this incident or what they were part of, and then go home instead of having to try and deal with it once they get home.
Yeah, Lieutenant Hinz, also you were at the scene of both of these as well, and I know that you're involved in the critical incident situations that Sheriff Fuller was talking about. Talk to me about how the Michigan State Police played a role, especially in the mass shootings.
Well, the state police handled the Cracker Barrel shooting primarily, and so we pretty much handled that from start to finish at the scene, handling the crime scene, gathering evidence, sending that to our crime lab. At the bicycle tragedy, we were there pretty much for the reconstruction of that, the accident reconstruction.
And Chief Burgoyes, I know that you're involved in these as well, and it's very tempting, I think, for a lot of us to think, what's going on in this world and what's happening in Kalamazoo County? What next? I think it's very important to keep this in perspective. These two situations are outlying events and don't define us and don't accurately portray the crime rate here.
No, they don't, and I think that's the difficult thing. When you're in the moment and the emotions that happen with an event like this, you believe that that's just the way it is. I think it's important to note that if you look nationally, our homicide rate right now nationally is about the same as it was in 1960. Our violent crime rate is about the same as it was in 1970. Now, it doesn't seem that way. We have more media now. We have more media outlets, more time to fill. We have social media. We learn about things rapidly, and they are repeated over and over. And if you're plugged into that, it just a very natural reaction is to think that it happens all the time everywhere.
All great points and wonderful advice. Thank you all so much for being part of this panel. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. In just 2 nights, there were 17 people killed or critically wounded in these two tragedies. Tonight, our Amy Heimels takes a look back at the lives of the victims and how the survivors are trying to heal.
Just shy of 49 hours ago, they were here with us.
Hundreds packed prayer vigils for the 9 cyclists hit by an erratic driver, 5 of whom were killed, all of them members of the chain gang biking group.
Larry was a cancer survivor and came around really well and was a great guy.
Larry Pollock and Tony Nelson, both active in their faith and the community.
Tony worked with college students and social justice issues to live better lives and help those who were not as advantaged as we are.
Because our hearts were so big that they cared. They truly cared for the parish community and the community at large.
Melissa Thievik Hughes, a loving mother of 2.
Yet her greatest and most important love was for her girls. She lived for them. She cherished them. They had fun together.
She captured many more hearts with her sweet disposition, her winning smile, her humility, her genuine care for others.
Friends of Deb Bradley lighting candles for a woman they say lit up all of their lives.
She was a lover of life, a lover of her family. She was so passionate. I'm telling you, I've never known another person like her.
Her friend Suzanne Sipple, who worked at the W.K. Kellogg Biological Station, was also on the ride that night.
I had the opportunity to see both Deb and Suzanne over the weekend, and both commented to me on how proud they were of Maddie and Lucas. And there's many things I can say, but I know they were so proud of their kids, and they were such good, kind people.
The world was a better place with them, and the world is a worse place without them.
Steve Johnson is also a member of the chain gang. His wife Jennifer is one of the survivors. So is Paul Runnels, who had a long career in animal health care, most recently working for Zoetis. And Paul Gobble, a professional photographer and father, is also recovering.
I think a lot of it hasn't sunk in yet.
Survivor Sheila Jeske is home, healing from broken ankles, broken ribs, but most of all, a broken heart.
We'll never be the same because of it.
By the rivers of Babylon.
Our primary objective here is to surround those who were closest to these people with our love and our support and our prayers.
4 months earlier, 8 people were shot when a gunman went on a rampage through Kalamazoo County. 6 died. Stories of heroism are still emerging from the tragic night.
The mother, the victim in this shooting, to me was a hero. This person put themselves between the children and the shooter.
Survivor Tiana Carruthers, shot multiple times, is looking to her faith and her family for inspiration during her recovery.
I had a strong will to live because I told myself as I was laying there that I'm going to see my daughter go to her gymnastic classes. I'm going to see my sister walk that stage for graduation. I'm going to help her find prom dresses.
High five.
14-year-old Abby Koff is also making a miraculous recovery.
We were saying our goodbyes at that moment. I put my head on her chest and I told her I loved her. And I told her that our heart beats as one. And if she could feel my heart, that her should start. And within that 5 minutes, she started back up. Thank you for saving my life. It means a lot to me.
Others were not so lucky. Barbara Hawthorne, or Grandma Barb as Abby called her, was a special education teacher and served in the Peace Corps.
Barbara was love.
Barbara's friend, Mary Jo Nye, had a long career in education and dedicated her life to literacy.
She just really made a difference in whatever community she lived in.
Mary L. Nye, Mary Jo's sister-in-law, was also killed that night.
Of my life.
Their friend Judy Brown is also remembered for her love of her family and her cats. Her son tells us she was a caseworker for many years. Father and son, Rich and Tyler Smith, had plans to start an auto shop after Tyler's graduation.
Rich and Tyler, they were a lot alike. They both had huge hearts.
They were very loving. They were very caring.
We can't let how they passed away be what people remember.
Now, these two tragedies have been so difficult and sad for all of us, but now imagine the close friends of the victims in whose lives there are gaping holes. And imagine the victims' family members, the ones who love them beyond measure, who are soldiering on in life now with broken hearts. Our hearts go out to them, and we want to help and empathize, but we don't truly understand. Tonight, we're joined by family members of some of the victims, Lori and Emily Smith, the family of Rich and Tyler Smith, and Alexis Cornish, Tyler's girlfriend. Thank you all for being here. Also, Barbara Hawthorne's nephew, Nate Hawthorne, and his wife, Shelley. We appreciate your bravery in being here, and we hope this will help in some way. Lori, I want to ask you a question first and foremost. As a parent, I can hardly get through this. And I'm going to ask you this, and it's going to sound simpleton, but how are you doing?
I get up every day, I praise God, and I look for how I can help others.
Has the community's response, Lori, given you any comfort?
Very much. It's, at first it was very overwhelming, and now it's very heartwarming. We just continue to get outpouring of support and help in whatever it is we happen to do, and even if we're doing nothing, and it's very heartwarming.
Emily, we're watching some video now of some of the reaction right after your father and brother were killed. And tell me what this has been like for you these last few months and how you're doing now.
I'm just now starting to realize that it's my new life, and it's just now becoming real. The past few months have been just a dream, and I thought, well, more of a nightmare, and I thought I'd wake up, but I didn't. And I really appreciate and I love all the community's, support and everything that they've done. I mean, I can't even name off all the things that people have done. I mean, just simple things like bringing dinner. People don't think about how much that actually helps, but when you're going through it all, you don't think about dinner.
We're glad to hear that it does. And Alexis, talk to me about Tyler. What an impressive kid. And here, sitting there with his mom and sister. But yeah, he would have graduated, and his cousin graduated in his place. Talk to me about the Tyler you knew.
He was very outgoing, and he would always be there for me, whether it meant not hanging out with his friends, just to make sure I was okay. And he was very loving towards everyone and nice to everyone. And he was always willing to do what it takes to make his friends or family happy.
Nate, Barbara Hawthorne, by all accounts, was just a wonderful person. A teacher, an environmentalist, a theater lover, just a wonderful, sweet person. Talk to me about her.
We called her lovingly Crazy Aunt Barbara because she would always do, be the fun person. She would watch our kids, take our kids out and do fun things, and she was just a very loving person. And the number of people that have come up and said, "Oh, I met your Aunt Barbara," or "Oh, she was I met her at the casino," or just at the doctor's office. She made an impression on these people, and they've come up and told me that just these chance meetings had made an impression on them.
And Barbara was Grandma Barb, Shelley, too. Abby Kauffer, one and others, wasn't she?
Yeah, absolutely.
We call her Aunt Barbara, and my children consider her to be essentially a grandma, even though we call her Aunt Barbara. But she also loved Abigail and Juliana very much as well, and called them her grandchildren, and spent so much time with them and loved them all and cared for them all as if they were her own. So they miss her dearly.
I bet they do. Now, Lori, how can we continue to help you? I know there's been a groundswell of support, which we've been happy to see and be part of, and I hope that's been helpful. But there will be a time when you're alone in your house and they're not coming home, and then it will hit you again and again and again. What can we do to ease that pain?
I think just remembering them for who they were, and as we try to figure out what's next, we'll figure it out. And for those people that knew Rich and Tyler, you know, we still want to talk about them. We still want to hear, you know, stories, and we'll still talk about them because their physical being might be gone, but their spirits are still here.
Great point. I think people might be afraid to bring up the subject, that it would be too painful, but of course, they're alive in your hearts. And Emily, tell me about Tyler's graduation in Mattawan.
That was probably one of the hardest days of my life, because he was there for me at my graduation, and we had his graduation in the same place that mine was, and he was the life of the party. I mean, he made everything. He made everyone laugh. He always had something silly, something to dance on, something, you know, he was truly, you know, a silly character. But the graduation, I mean, when everybody stood up, the whole theater stood up and did a round of applause when my cousin David accepted the diploma that the Mattawan schools had given. And, you know, he carried his cap and gown across the stage as if he was there, and I think that he was.
This has bonded you all together, hasn't it, Nate and Shelley? And you never wanted this to happen. You don't deserve this pain at all. But in a way, there have been some positive things to come out of it. Tell me about that.
Well, I just think that seeing all the events that have happened, even though we haven't been able to make all of them, like the Harley ride that I know that Lori was at, the run last night that they did from Gazelle Sports for Kalamazoo Strong. I mean, all of those, even though we might not be able to be there for the actual events, we know that they're going on. And so I think that helps us remember in a good way the effect that this has had on the community. And then it's almost like our loved ones are inspiring other people to be together. And I think that's probably the most positive effect that it can have on the community.
Lori, sadly this will happen to another mom. Do you have any words of advice? We never thought this kind of a tragedy would happen in Kalamazoo again, and look, it has.
I think at the onset, it's a struggle to breathe. And then day by day, you just do exactly what you have to do to get by. As the months pass and the nightmare becomes a reality, you just do what feels right in your heart, and you pray, and you take care of those that you need to take care of, including yourself, and you try to just embrace the community's love and support as much as you can. But there is no script. It's different for everyone. Whatever provides comfort at any given moment is going to be different for me than it is for someone else. It's a nightmare that I don't wish on anyone, and you just do what you have to do to get by. And the community support and love is really, really huge in moving forward.
And I imagine that you are living for them,
yes,
and knowing that they want you to be happy and not paralyzed with grief.
Right.
Well, listen, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate your insight and your comments, and we are with you, and we will be here to help you. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thanks.
I think it's just beautiful to see like how many people and how many lives like him and his father impact.
We can't pretend that
that didn't happen, it becomes a part of who we are as a community. But it's not all we're about.
To those whose lives were so cruelly cut short.
I'm out here to show my support for not only the people who lost loved ones, but I'm also here to support the family of the young man who caused this.
Little piece of light in a time that's been very dark.
I think that's what people are doing the one thing they can do, which is support each other.
We try to make sense out of something that doesn't make sense.
It's a great deal, the process.
I've been on that route hundreds of times and felt safe hundreds of times. I think that riding a bike is a pastime, love, and it's something that we should all continue to do in their memory.
I think as a community we need to come together and support the families, to support all those that are affected by this tragedy.
This is Kalamazoo. This is who we are.
Let's go do it again, and we'll finish the ride for those fallen, and we'll finish the ride for those that are still in the hospital who can't be here.
We can't allow the evil and stupidity and ignorance of those that decide to harm folks through their actions stop us from living our lives.
We are Kalamazoo, and we are Kalamazoo strong.
Well, these tragedies have had a, of course, very profound impact on the people of West Michigan. News Channel 3's Kate Tillotson is in the newsroom sharing some of your comments coming in right now on social media. Kate?
We are continuing to hear from our viewers about these tragedies and how they've impacted their lives. Sharing some more responses from viewers on social media, we got a really good one from Bill, who lives in Richland. He says, I knew several people in the bicycle accident. Some are healing, others are no longer with us. I rode bikes myself and continue to do so. I've been through several emotions: sadness, anger, reflection, questions with no answers. I can't imagine what the riders and past rider families are going through. And Terry writes, trust in God, seek Him, pray, and keep your eyes looking up and fixed. We want to encourage you to continue this conversation, to continue sharing your thoughts on these tragedies online. You can join in on our WWMT Facebook page. We're also on Twitter. Andy, back to you.
All right, Kate, thank you, and thank you for joining us. We do want to take a look back one more time at all of the ways this community has come together, leaning on each other for healing and lifting up the families of the victims and the survivors.
We are in this together, Kalamazoo family. Hate will not win.
I think it's just beautiful to see how many people and how many lives him and his father impact.
We can't pretend that didn't happen. It becomes a part of who we are as a community. But it's not all we're about.
To those whose lives were so cruelly cut short.
I'm out here to show my support for not only the people who lost loved ones, but I'm also here to support the family of the young man who caused this.
Little piece of light in a time that's been very dark.
I think that's what people are doing the one thing they can do, which is support each other.
We try to make sense out of something that doesn't make sense.
It's a great deal, the process.
I've been on that route hundreds of times and felt safe hundreds of times. I think that riding a bike is a pastime, love, and it's something that we should all continue to do in their memory.
I think as a community we need to come together and support the families, to support all those that are affected by this tragedy.
This is Kalamazoo. This is who we are.
Let's go do it again, and we'll finish the ride for those fallen, and we'll finish the ride for those that are still in the hospital who can't be here.
We can't allow the evil and stupidity and ignorance of those that decide to harm folks through their actions stop us from living our lives.
We are Kalamazoo, and we are Kalamazoo strong.
Anyone who's been in Kalamazoo long knows these two tragedies are not the first to hit this area, and they likely won't be the last. But it's how we respond to these tragedies that truly defines us. As long as we lean on each other, as we've learned, there really is hope and healing. For all of us here at News Channel 3, thanks for joining us for this special Your Voice, Your Future Town Hall. We'll be posting this entire discussion on WWMT.com. For now, we want to leave you with the faces of the lives lost and those injured as we continue to pray for their recoveries. Good night.